Mia had always known something was missing. Raised by her mother, she had never met her father. He had walked away shortly after she was born, leaving behind nothing but an empty space in her heart that no bedtime story, no Christmas present, and no whispered reassurance from her mother could completely fill. Her mother did her best, working long hours, praying over her at night and making sure she never lacked anything essential. But despite all of that, there were moments when the loneliness hit hard. Moments when she wished there was someone to call Dad, someone to remind her she was worthy, loved, and protected. Now, as a teenager, the ache of that missing presence had grown into something else, an uncertainty about who she really was. She wasn't the type of girl who turned heads when she walked into a room. She wasn't the loud, confident type who knew exactly what to say around boys. While her friends giggled over their crushes and whispered about who they hoped would ask them out for Valentine's Day, Mia felt like an outsider looking in. She had never really thought about getting a boyfriend. But as February 14th, Valentine's Day approached, the pressure started to build. "You should totally have a Valentine this year," Lila, her best friend, insisted one afternoon. Mia shook her head. "I don't know, Lila, I don't think I need one." Lila rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on, you're 16. It's practically a crime to go through high school without at least one romantic story. Just imagine it. You walking down the hallway knowing someone is thinking about you, caring about you." Lila explained with so much excitement in her voice. Mia had laughed it off at first, but later that night, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, doubt crept in. Maybe Lila was right. Maybe if she had someone to hold her hand, to call her beautiful, to make her feel wanted, the emptiness would shrink a little. Maybe she would finally feel like she belonged. And so, against her better judgment, she decided to try. She would do what her friends had been urging her to do. She would step into the world of Valentine's romance, hoping that somewhere in the process, she would find the validation she had always craved. But what she didn't know was that the love she was searching for, the love that could truly fill the void in her heart, was something far greater than any fleeting romance. She was about to discover that the truest love had already been given to her long ago in the most unexpected way. It all started with a dare the next morning when she arrived at school. "Just one little note," Lila whispered, nudging a crimson envelope into Mia's trembling hands, her eyes twinkling with excitement. "Slip it into his locker. No harm in a little mystery, right?" Mia hesitated, her fingers tracing the smooth edges of the envelope. The deep red color felt almost dangerous, like a warning sign she was about to ignore. Her heart pounded in her chest as she unfolded the note inside. The words stared back at her in her own neat handwriting. "I've watched you from afar, and I think you're amazing. Happy Valentine's Day." A simple message, anonymous, but every letter carried a weight that made Mia's hands feel unsteady. Because the note was meant for Ryan Carter, the most popular guy at Westbrook High. The golden boy with the effortless charm, the boy who had girls practically vying for his attention, the boy whose name was always whispered in the hallways as if he were a legend. And Mia? Well, she was invisible. A quiet, book-loving girl who spent her lunch breaks in the library where stories became her world and characters became her closest companions. She wasn't the girl people noticed. She blended into the background like an unnoticed shadow, and maybe that was why she felt safe there. So why was she even considering this? She should have said no. Should have crumpled the note and thrown it away. But instead, something deep inside her, a strange mix of longing and curiosity, urged her forward. The thought of Ryan finding the note, reading it, and wondering who his secret admirer was sent a thrill through her veins. Her feet felt like lead as she approached his locker, glancing around the empty hallway. Her pulse roared in her ears. This was ridiculous. And yet before she could talk herself out of it, She slipped the letter through the narrow vent of his locker and bolted down the hall as if she were being chased by a wild beast. Her heart pounded, hammering louder than her footsteps as she disappeared into the crowd. The rest of the day was a blur. In class that afternoon, the teacher's voice droned on, but Mia barely heard a word. Equations danced on the board, but they might as well have been in another language. Mia barely heard anything, let alone understand what the teacher was saying. Her mind drifted between the classroom and the fantasy world she had just created. What was Ryan doing now? Had he found the note yet? Did he smile when he saw it? Did he even care? Her stomach twisted. The evening at home wasn't much better. Her mom was working a late shift like always. 3 jobs back to back just to keep their little apartment running. Mia knew her mother loved her, but love felt distant when it came in the form of exhaustion and late-night arrivals. She stared at the empty dinner table, picturing what it would be like if her father had been there. If she even knew who he was. If he had stayed. Maybe then things would be different. Maybe then she wouldn't feel this void. This emptiness that seems to trail her every day. As she lay in bed that night, she could barely shut her eyes. The chimes from the clock on the wall seemed to grow louder, like a ticking bomb counting down to an unknown disaster. And the question started. What if Ryan laughed at the note? What if he figured out it was me? What if he rejected me? What if he showed it to his friends and they all made fun of me? What if he didn't care at all? The uncertainty gnawed at her, clawing at her confidence, but so did something else. A strange, exhilarating hope. Somewhere between doubt and desperation, she finally drifted off. But sleep did not bring peace. She dreamt of Ryan finding the note, laughing as he read it, then calling her out in front of the entire school. The dream twisted into a nightmare, mocking voices, cruel laughter, her name echoing in the hallways as if it were a joke. She woke up with a start, her heart racing. It took a few moments to remind herself it wasn't real. But the lingering dread from the dream refused to leave her. Dragging herself out of bed, she moved through the motions of getting ready, her stomach churning with nerves. She could barely eat breakfast, the thought of facing Ryan, of facing the unknown, making her feel lightheaded. But beneath the fear there was still that flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, Ryan would feel the same way. With a deep breath, she grabbed her bag, stepped out the door, and braced herself for whatever the day might bring. By the time Mia arrived at school the next morning, the hallways buzzed with excitement. Something was different. The usual chatter about weekend plans and upcoming tests had been replaced by one singular topic. Ryan Carter had found the letter. Mia's stomach clenched as she walked past groups of students huddled together, their voices filled with curiosity. "Who do you think sent it?" one girl whispered, her voice tinged with intrigue. "Probably one of the cheerleaders," another replied with certainty. "I mean, it has to be someone in his league." Mia bit her lip, her face warming. She had hoped Ryan would notice the note, but not like this. Not with the entire school treating it like a major news event. She lowered her gaze, willing herself to disappear into the crowd. Maybe if she walked fast enough, if she kept her head down, no one would suspect her. Then, the unexpected happened. Ryan wasn't just ignoring the letter. He was searching for his secret admirer. Notes began appearing on the school bulletin board, each one written in Ryan's unmistakable handwriting. "To the girl who sent me the letter, whoever you are, let's talk." The school was alive with whispers. Girls giggled in the hallways, some even daring to send their own anonymous notes in hopes that Ryan would think they were the mystery girl. The more Ryan searched, the bigger the mystery became. Lila practically bounced with excitement. "This is your chance, Mia. Just tell him." Mia hesitated, clutching her books to her chest. A part of her wanted to confess, wanted to see if Ryan would smile at her, if he would be flattered, if he would look at her in a way he never had before. But another part of her, a deeper, quieter part, felt uneasy. Why did she even do this? Was she really looking for love? Or was she looking for validation? She swallowed hard, a lump forming in her throat. If she didn't even have the courage to walk up to Ryan and admit she had written the letter, how would she ever feel comfortable being seen at his side? The thought of the attention, the whispers, the expectations, it terrified her. The bell rang, snapping her back to reality. For now, she decided it was best to stay silent. Maybe, just maybe, the mystery would eventually fade away. As Valentine's Day approached, the weight of Mia's secret grew heavier. Lila wasn't giving up. "You have to tell him," she insisted. "Ryan is looking for you. Do you know how many girls in this school wish they were in your position?" Mia forced a smile, but inside she felt torn. The idea of Ryan knowing the truth excited her, but it also scared her more than anything. Would he be disappointed? Would he think it was a joke? What if she confessed, and everything came crashing down? But as the final bell rang that day, Mia made up her mind. She would tell him. If nothing else, she needed to face her fear. She needed to know the truth. Outside the school, students flooded the sidewalks, laughing and chatting as they made their way home. Mia's hands felt ice cold as she spotted Ryan standing near the school gate, surrounded by his friends. Her heart pounded. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to put one foot in front of the other. Just tell him. Just say it. But before she could reach him, she saw something that stopped her in her tracks. Judy Harper, the most glamorous, confident girl in school, walked straight up to Ryan. Without hesitation, she leaned in and kissed him lightly on the cheek. Mia froze. For a moment, the world around her seemed to blur. Ryan grinned, sliding an arm around Judy's waist as they laughed together, completely unaware of the girl standing just a few feet away, her heart sinking. Mia's breath caught in her throat. A lump formed as she realized the truth. Ryan wasn't searching for her. He was simply enjoying the attention. He had already chosen someone else. She felt like a fool. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them back, turning away before anyone could see the hurt written all over her face. As she walked home, her thoughts churned. Why did I think this would make me happy? She had spent so much time longing for Ryan's attention, hoping that being noticed by him would fill the emptiness inside her. But now she felt emptier than ever. That evening, Mia found a note taped to her front door. It was from her next-door neighbor inviting her over for dinner. She hesitated, then smiled, a real genuine smile. Despite everything that had happened, someone still cared. That night, unable to sleep, she reached for her Bible. Her eyes fell on John 3:16. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life." Mia read it again and again. Tears welled in her eyes. Here she was, desperately chasing after a love that might not even be real, when the greatest love of all had already been given to her. She didn't need Ryan's validation. She didn't need a secret admirer mystery to feel seen. God had loved her before she was even born. And his love? It wasn't temporary. It wasn't uncertain. It wasn't based on how popular, pretty, or perfect she was. It was real, unshakable, eternal. For the first time in a long time, Mia felt free. She let out a deep breath and smiled, not because she had won Ryan's heart, but because she had found something far greater. That night she fell asleep, not with tears of rejection, but with peace. Real peace, not one that comes from human validation. The next morning, Mia walked into school with a new kind of confidence. Not because of Ryan, not because of a letter, but because she knew she was loved by a God who had given everything for her. As she passed the bulletin board, she saw Ryan standing at his locker, still searching for answers. Mia knew she could reveal herself right then. She could claim the attention. But instead she did something else. She took out a new note, one that mattered far more than the last. This time she didn't slip it into Ryan's locker. She pinned it on the school bulletin board for everyone to see. There is a love greater than anything we search for in this world. It doesn't fade, it doesn't disappoint, and it isn't based on how popular, beautiful, or successful we are. It's the love of Jesus Christ who gave his life so we could be saved. If you're looking for love, look to him first. John 3:16. The school buzzed again, but this time it wasn't about Ryan's mystery girl. It was about something far greater. And as Mia walked away, she knew one thing for sure. She had found the love she had been searching for all along. Are you, like Mia, searching for validation in a relationship, hoping that a partner will make you feel worthy and complete? Do you find yourself longing for someone's attention to affirm your value? If so, I want to remind you of a truth that can change everything. Your worth is not determined by another person's love or approval. No human relationship can fill the deep longing inside you, because that space was meant for something greater. True validation doesn't come from people, it comes from God. He created you with purpose, loves you unconditionally, and has already declared your worth. John 3:16 reminds us of this incredible truth. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. You are already loved beyond measure by the one who gave his life for you. Instead of seeking validation in fleeting human relationships, rest in the unshakable, eternal love of Jesus Christ. He sees you, he knows you, and in him, you are enough. Thank you so much for watching. If this message touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and spread the love. See you in the next podcast. And always remember, God so loved the world, and that includes you.